This video is on assessing phonemic awareness and phonics in early childhood. I'm Muriel Rand from New Jersey City University. In this assessment, you're going to choose a child, I'd say between 4.5 maybe to 7.5. The tests that I'm giving you are really geared toward kindergarten and first grade, especially early first grade. But older, more mature preschoolers can do some of this assessment, or older children, second, third, fourth graders with reading problems. This is a really good assessment for those students because often the reason why they are not reading well in the older grades is because they have a problem with phonological awareness or phonics. You're going to complete two assessments. The first is the phonological awareness assessment, and the second is the phonics. It's called the letter name and letter sound assessment. Let's talk about assessing phonemic awareness. The purpose of this assessment is to determine if the student can break apart the sounds in words. We are going to be using the Yopp-Singer test of phoneme segmentation. This test uses a list of 22 common words. Students are told the words and are asked to break apart each word. That's called segmentation. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes per child. Here are the directions. You say this: today we're going to play a word game. I'm going to say a word and I want you to break the word apart. You're going to tell me each sound of the word in order. For example, if I say old, you should say o, l, d. Let's try a few together. Here are some tips. You do not show the child the printed words. This is a test of their hearing and listening skills. Do not show the child the scoring sheet at all. They should not be looking at the words when they try to separate them. They have to remember them, what they sound like, and then break apart the sounds. So you're going to say the word out loud and then ask the child to separate the sounds and do some practice words. I can tell you that many preschoolers or early kindergartners have trouble with this, or sometimes they can separate the first sound, but not the rest of the sounds. That's okay, because that's what you're trying to see, is where they are in this continuum and what they're able to do. So record the sounds of the words that they can separate on the scoring sheet. Again, don't be surprised if the child has difficulty with this. All or mostly correct responses indicate strong phonemic awareness. Some correct responses indicate emerging awareness, and little or few correct responses suggest intervention. A child should be able to should really score with all the correct responses by the end of first grade. If they can't do this by the end of first grade, they need remediation in phonemic awareness. Now let's talk about the phonics assessment. This assessment tests a child's knowledge of letter names and letter sounds. So you give the student copy of the assessment. This one they do get to see the words. And you're going to run your finger under the rows of the lowercase letters and say, tell me the letter names for each of these letters. Point to each letter and say its name. Start here and read across. So those are the directions, and there are 3 parts. So you repeat that for the lowercase letters, then you test the consonant letter sounds, and then you test the vowel sounds. So it's very simple, straightforward. Place a check beside each correct answer and write the student's response for the errors, because you might want to go back and look at where they're having trouble, like which sounds they don't know. And mark the sound that the student said between the slashes. So when you see slashes like that, that means the sound of the word of the letter rather than the letter name. If the student tells you the letter name instead of the letter sound, say, well, that's the letter name. What's the letter sound? If the student responds with the correct answer, then give them credit. If the student says the same answer, they're still giving you the letter name or another error, just write down what they did say. If the student pauses and will not continue, point to the next letter and say, what's the sound of this letter? And then mark the missed letter with don't know. So, don't just keep moving on. If they don't know it and they don't respond, just move on. So let's look at the results. Use the New Jersey ELA standards to judge your results. The standards provide the level the child should be at by the end of the school year. So if you're reading the preschool standards, it's by the end of preschool. If you're reading the kindergarten standards, it's by the end of kindergarten. So for the preschool level, they should recognize and name many upper and lowercase letters of the alphabet and identify many initial sounds. That means first sounds of familiar words. So we don't expect them to know all of the upper and lowercase letters yet. And we don't expect them to be able to break apart the sounds in the words. Only some of the words they should be able to break apart the first sound, probably the simpler, easier words that you say first. They go in order of more difficulty. By kindergarten, they should be able to recognize and name all of the upper and lowercase letters of the alphabet. Again, this is the end of kindergarten. They should be able to isolate and pronounce the initial, medial vowel, and final sounds, the phonemes, in 3 phoneme consonant, vowel, consonant words. Consonant, vowel, consonant words are like cat, bat, hit, sit, mad. They've got a consonant, then a vowel, then a consonant. We do not expect them to be able to separate the sounds of L, R, and X. Those sounds are very difficult to say, and many children can't really pronounce those until 2nd grade. At the 1st grade level, all of the kindergarten level skills that I just described, plus they should be able to isolate and pronounce the initial, medial, vowel, and final sounds in single syllable words, not just CVC words, so they could do blends like black, blue, grow. They should be able to segment spoken single syllable words into their complete sequence of individual sounds. So in other words, by the end of 1st grade, children should be able to really do all that these 2 assessments asks them to do. So once you've gotten those 2 assessments done, you're going to summarize and then use the results. So what are the children's strengths and weaknesses? And then make recommendations for what the child needs to learn next. Use the grade level standards that I just went over to determine what would be appropriate, and your knowledge of phonemic awareness activities and phonics activities to make suggestions for what the child should learn next.